In every corner of the world, the intersection of race and gender continues to shape who is protected and who is left behind. Women of color experience some of the highest rates of violence globally, but their stories are often silenced or ignored. Whether in the US, South Africa, Brazil, or India, systemic inequality has allowed for gender-based violence to become not only widespread, but normalized. In this video, I will explore how racism and sexism intersect to create conditions of danger for women of color. We'll examine the United States and compare it to other global contexts, looking at how histories of colonialism, capitalism, and patriarchy have made violence both pervasive and invisible. To understand this issue, we need to begin with intersectionality. This framework, coined by legal scholar Kimberly Crenshaw in 1991, helps us see how systems like racism and sexism don't operate in isolation. They intersect to produce compounded harm.
Social justice problems like racism and sexism are often overlapping, creating multiple levels of social injustice. So, what do you call being impacted by multiple forces and then abandoned to fend for yourself? Intersectionality seemed to do it for me.
Take gender-based violence. This term refers to any harmful act directed at someone because of their gender. This includes domestic violence, sexual assault, harassment, trafficking, and psychological abuse. According to UN Women, about 1 in 3 women globally will experience gender-based violence in their lifetimes. But those numbers are even higher for women of color, particularly Indigenous, migrant, poor, and Black women, whose experiences are shaped not just by gender discrimination, but by colonial legacies, racism, and economic inequality. Intersectionality helps us uncover how the same act of violence, say intimate partner violence, can have very different consequences depending on who the victim is. For women of color, legal systems, law enforcement, and media often fail to respond with urgency, if at all. Let's turn to the United States. On paper, it might appear that women have legal protections and recourse against violence. But in practice, women of color are frequently left unprotected or criminalized when they seek help.
The Illinois woman was fatally shot by a deputy who was responding to her 911 call to report suspicious person. Sangamon County Deputy Sean Grayson, who shot Massey, is charged with first-degree murder and is being held without bond.
Consider this. Black women are almost 3 times more likely to be murdered by a current or former intimate partner than white women. Native American women face epidemic levels of sexual assault. Over 84% report having experienced some form of violence in their lifetimes. These numbers are not accidental. They reflect centuries of systemic violence. Neoliberal economic policies have made things worse. Austerity, welfare reform, and housing cuts have removed crucial lifelines for low-income women, especially immigrants, single mothers, and women with disabilities. Scholars like Gill and Bra argue that neoliberalism not only fails survivors, but punishes them by cutting access to shelters, legal aid, and trauma care. The myth that violence is a private issue ignores its structural roots, and women of color pay the price. The United States is not an outlier. Across the globe, women of color experience similar patterns, but in each place, violence is shaped by local histories of racism, colonialism, and patriarchy. In India, Dalit women, historically deemed untouchable under the caste system, are often the targets of sexual violence. The state rarely prosecutes these cases.
The horrifying gang rape and murder of a 23-year-old Delhi woman in December of 2012 shocked the world. Following the brutal act, disgust and outrage propelled activists in India to act. Jyoti, the woman at the center of the story, and sheds light on a rape culture that is often swept under the rug and fueled by what critics call a patriarchal society.
In South Africa, femicide rates are among the highest in the world. Black women, especially in poor communities, are murdered with alarming frequency. The country's apartheid legacy and continued economic inequality have created a society where Black women's lives are undervalued. In Brazil, femicide disproportionately affects Afro-Brazilian women. Activist Claudia Santos writes that structural racism has made Black women both hyper-visible as targets and invisible in media and policymaking. Despite all of this, women of color are not just victims. They are leaders, organizers, and visionaries. Movements like #MeToo, founded by Black activist Tarana Burke, created space for survivors who had long been ignored by mainstream feminism. #Ni Una Menos in Latin America fights against femicide and state violence.
On June 3rd of last year, 200,000 people, women of all ages and plenty of men too, packed the streets outside of Congress to declare in one voice, ni uno menos, not one less.
These movements are grounded in restorative justice, community care, and survivor-led advocacy. They challenge not just individual abusers, but entire systems. To dismantle gender-based violence, we must challenge white supremacy, economic injustice, and patriarchy. Intersectionality is not just a theory, it's a practice of listening, protecting, and valuing all lives. Most importantly, it's a call to action.